Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM20. It's Champions. We're on episode 47 at the Tour de France. First time here. Stage 15, and we lead this thing. And we do have a shot. I don't know if we're favorites, but we certainly have a shot. Ineos feel like they're favorites. They've spent a lot of time on recent stages pushing, and they've spent a lot of time in this stage pushing. But at the moment, they're not. At the moment, they're sitting back. We've got Thor, we've got Captain America chasing a breakaway group of 18 riders, which at the moment are opening that gap a little bit. But as we approach the penultimate climb of the day, and this is kind of the first of a series of mountain stages as we drive on through this final week of this tour, and it's going to get a lot more challenging outside of the Champs-Élysées. There's not much between here and the finish that's going to be straightforward and simple. And with some of the time gaps that we have over a lot of the field, I mean, there's still contenders, absolutely, but with some of the time gaps that do exist, there's a lot of good, really good climbers and riders that want to be in the breakaway. Speaking of, there's at least two riders that are in the teens in terms of their position right now at the in that breakaway. Danny Martinez, the biggest of those names, and so there's some real stage contenders out there, and we certainly can't afford to have them picking up a significant chunk of time. But as we now begin this climb, and that gap has gone out by a minute, I think it is time that I commit these two in a different manner than before, as in they need to start pushing and try to bring that time down a bit.
A couple of teams have set themselves up as pacemakers for the pack. They obviously don't have anybody in the breakaway group.
And that's now holding the gap, at least, anyway. 3:45. It's a long time in the breakaway to be out there. This is a fairly lengthy stage. We still have a good 80k to go. So this doesn't need to be kind of a crazy tempo. Ineos finally getting in with us on it, and the gap is it's still just about holding. So they're ultimately doing about the same pace that we were before they were committed. 4 or 5 riders where we were committing to. So hopefully they've experienced a bit of fatigue, at least overall stamina drop. Obviously they're not short-term fatigue because they've only committed one rider at all on this climb, and it was only for a portion of it. And so ultimately we're going to be in kind of the same place, but it does impact long-term stability for the stage, bringing that stamina down. So once they hit that final climb on a long stage like this one, those 4 or 5 riders are all going to be feeling the effects of that as we begin that final climb. We go over the top here. Gap has opened up by a minute to the front riders, so as they attacked that category 2 climb at the top, it did have an impact. Quintana was in that group, so that's another big name that went unmentioned a little bit ago. Thor pretty much at the end of his rope here, but everybody else is looking pretty good. And now with 60k to go, I think we can get water that final time. Last time I went to get water, Storm really dropped the ball. Oh my goodness, it took her like 50k to bring water forward, enough so that she started that task well before anybody else was crying water. And then, oh, see, here she goes again. She had seemingly dropped back and already had the water and was coming forward, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh wait, no, I forgot the water. I went and talked to the boss and forgot what I was doing back there. And so this is actually looking a lot like it did before. It's already been a good 15k, and she's just now coming forward. Well, anyway, that last time around, a couple of the teammates ended up also going back and retrieving water because Storm did such a poor job. And yeah, she didn't get much better here, as it took her a good 20k where the peloton's really not pushing and there's not much going on. UAE now the ones trying to make things happen, riding for their leader, which presumably is Landa. I don't know if it actually is Landa. With all these different series, sometimes it's easy to forget who's on which team after a handful of seasons, and riders start kind of swapping places. Alright, well, we're not the ones doing the chasing now. It's only at 340, that gap, but once we hit this sprint point, the actual climb, is only 9 kilometers. But you can see we have this long uphill slope from 179, and then the finish is at 205, so 26K later. So it's almost a 26-kilometer climb in reality, and we've got to take that into account. I'd like to, with a 9K climb, that's where I'd like to be making our push. So I think Captain America is in good shape. I'm going to have them drop back, and then I'm going to give somebody else a rest. Let's see, who do we want? Spider-Man, Black Widow, or Storm? Well, I suppose I'll take a look. 79, 73, we've got a 79, 81, and a 78, 79. So Black Widow will get a respite, and then we're protecting Gamora. So there we go. That'll take care of that. We now have these four preparing. So let's get them up into the low 80s, and Thor involved but not involved at the front. It's okay if they're not actually the one taking the turn. The gap's at 245, so that front group, not a major threat for the stage, and certainly if they do claim the stage, that's not going to threaten the overall, as all of them are 11 minutes or more down. And the reason why we're committing Thor is you can see Thor is already nearly done. I mean, they're toast, so doesn't matter. By committing, it helps other teams commit to know that we're committed.
Whoa, there's an attack from inside the breakaway group.
It's like a promise ring, you know? Thor has a promise ring on. He's bobbing the shoulders and not actually contributing anything at the front, but it's the promise that we are attempting to contribute. Now he's actually going to fall away, and that's going to go bye-bye. But we're under 20K, and EF seems to not care anymore. Alright, set you to auto. How are we doing at the front? Storm, suddenly looking quite tired. Captain America. So EF is really turning the pace up. Storm, Gel, what's your problem? Resistance, low resistance, 73. And low stamina, 66. Ouch, no wonder. Long stage, really poor stamina. Captain America getting down to it here. This isn't that steep, but we're occasionally getting over that 3. We see we're at 3.1. So it's kind of rolling back and forth between your mountain rating and your flat rating, but it's definitely having an impact. There's the group, down to 2 minutes. Captain America just hanging on here. Storm is already starting to fade. Storm was protecting Hulk. We don't want that happening where we're suddenly leaving Hulk alone. So go ahead and set you to auto and find our last full strength rider to now protect Hulk instead of Doctor Strange. 12K to go. We still have the numbers to sprint train this thing.
There are just 10 kilometers left. You see that? You can read the pain on the faces at the back of the peloton. There's a growing number of
16 left at the front,
behind.
down to a minute and a half, so we've just pulled back nearly a minute in a very short period of time. 9.7, we're about to go up. So it's time. We're going to do this. Storm's already out the back. Captain America is fading, so that's those 3 out of the mix. Hulk is feeling it right now. Oh, who's my 3rd overall? It's Gamora, right? Yes. So leading out, you know what? We don't want to push this too hard because you can see the fatigue in the legs, even with Hulk. So Black Widow's going to go first, but we are not going hard here. So an 83 looks. Oh, 83 looks like a pretty massive pace. So let's try an 80.
Pierre Latour goes into the attack.
Latour in the breakaway and putting the pressure on, and now we are putting the pressure on, and goodbye Captain America. And we are right in front and in control with 8K to go. Okay, Black Widow's not going to last too long like this. We'll get Spider-Man ready. And now we're pulling them back pretty fast and very much in control. First 2 kilometers of the climb are done. We're going to be down to 4 here in just a moment. So Spider-Man, we're definitely not going any faster than what Black Widow's been doing. In fact, we're going to go a little bit slower. I want you to try to last for at least a little bit. We're down to 6K, so 1/3 of the climb is complete. And we're already pulling back breakaway riders.
There are just 5
We're going
kilometers
to get
left.
down to our top 3. And I like that we're out front, that we're in control. Ineos on our wheels. Spider-Man's done. So we will now set them to auto and now move on to Doctor Strange. 5K. I think we can start to pick up the pace slightly. Four and a half K. Looking pretty good at this point. Hulk has not taken much wear and tear through the first half of the climb. Now Ineos is trying to come up beside us, but Doctor Strange is setting one of those tempos where, while it's not crazy fast, it's a long enough, hard enough climb that it's ultimately turning out that way. Now Doctor Strange still has a little bit left. Gamora, very little more. So they're not going to last too long here. And then Hulk's going to have to take over and finish on their own. But we're down to 2K anyway. So Doctor Strange, kind of finish at your tempo. 19 left, 1 breakaway. That's Barguil. That's Bernal. Shoot. Bernal attacking a little bit before I was ready. Sprinted out 600 meters. I misread that one. We'll get second on the stage. Bernal's not going to hurt. Nice little gap there. Moss, Almeida, Champison. Here comes Gamora.
This stage was a real strength sapper.
8th on the stage. Doctor Strange just behind her in 9th. Adam Yates. Most of the contenders losing time. Gamora, small amount of time lost, but I don't think it's going to hurt her position necessarily. And Doctor Strange's position is going to improve. You got a few riders that were in that top 10 that were the holdovers, the leftovers, the top riders in the break. So they were outside of the top 10, finishing inside of the top 10. So there's definitely top 10 riders like, I think Dumoulin, right, was pretty high up overall. 17th on the stage. Rowan Dennis was 19th on the stage. Evenepoel was 20th on the stage. Those were contenders that are going to lose some time. So this is going to be a bit of a shakeup, even though it was not a major climbing stage. Bernal's sneaky little move picks up 15 seconds plus the 4-second advantage in terms of the time bonuses. So he gains a little bit of time on us, but we're at a minute and a half. And I think more importantly, we distanced pretty much everybody else. Gamora, 3.5. Dumoulin, who was high up in the placings, 4th place, is now down to 540. So we almost ruled out all the other contenders effectively today. And now it's just Bernal that we have to deal with. Almeida, almost 7 minutes. Landa, 7.5. So we really knocked them off. And Doctor Strange is back up into 7th now from 9th, ahead of Evenepoel and Moss. Yates, last one within 10 minutes. So once you get down to Champison, you're already looking at 10 plus. So anybody in the teens. Martinez, who kind of gains a little bit today from being in the break. But yes, lots and lots of time losses out there. And for us, a handful of seconds to Bernal, not such a big deal as we established our position, affirmed our position compared to everybody else, and now we really only have one threat to watch out for, that being Bernal. Stage 16, and we're in for a doozy. This is not an easy stage at all, and it's, from the look of it on profile, with just 2 climbs and really nothing in between, you're up or down, you would think this is a short stage. It's not. It's 154K. It's a pretty long stage, but it's just 2 monster climbs, and you can see the climbs themselves are much longer than the actual climbs. I mean, we're at kilometer 44 for the first one, and it's uphill the entire way. It's 44 kilometers of climbing. So what I'm trying to do right now, and I don't know how Dr. Strange is dropping down. Oh, that's because another team went forward and pushed tempo for a second. want to ride this one a little differently today, and I want to kind of see what happens with it. One, I'm playing with tactics. One reason for that is this is the kind of series to do that. This is the kind of series where I can afford to experiment a little bit. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and whatever. If we don't win the GC, I'm gonna be okay with that. I'm sure I'd like to, but I'm okay with experimenting in a series that is specifically an experiment. Get where I'm going with that? So anyway, as we have the lead, right, it's on us to control the tempo. As we have two massive climbs, it's on us to control the field and eventually bring it down. This is not going to be a complete peloton anywhere near that at the top of this climb. Now, at some point, if I need to, I can set up and let the breakaway group do its thing. And yes, there is a breakaway group right now, but you can see we're going to bring back most of those riders here quite soon, as they only have 45 seconds, and we're almost in contact with them anyway. Some of them will re-attack, and we could end up with a small breakaway group, but ultimately I'm taking my leaders and resting them and keeping them in, but I'm using the whole rest of the team to tag team this climb at a moderate pace, but it's a massive climb. So let's see what happens with that. You can see it's definitely doing damage to everyone, and rider by rider, people are getting dropped, and we've still got 20k to go to the top. Let's go a few k forward and see what happens. Breakaway is burying themselves to pull away from us at the moment, so I mean, if they're managing to do that, our pace can't be that bad, right? More than halfway up the climb, down to 12k, and Spider-Man's struggling, Black Widow's struggling, but everybody else looks okay. And there's going to be plenty of time to recover on the descent. But we're down to a peloton of 80 riders, and I've got my complete team, at least at the moment. Spider-Man's out, but I'm okay with that. I'm just curious to see how this goes. And you can see Spider-Man actually climbing at a decent enough tempo that they're just about keeping up here.
The pack is increasing its work rate. Some teams can't be happy with the breakaway.
Okay, set them to auto. 77 left. And I mean, think about how many riders that's leaving out from the other teams just by setting this tempo. Just this gradual slog up this climb. 3.5k to go to the top. I do have a couple more riders that are in jeopardy at the moment, but again, our pace isn't that bad, and most of the riders that were setting the tempo, and again, if a ton of riders get dropped here and all of a sudden we're down to 20 or 30 riders, it's not a bad thing. But I've got 4 right here on the verge of getting dropped, and at the moment have been, but they're all in that next group. So if we just set that to auto, yeah, just 36 left, but also just my 3 left, and that's worrying. We certainly did a lot of damage, but I'm hoping this group behind is going to make it back up. But they're 2 minutes down at the moment, and there's still some breakaway riders. So surprising that we did this much damage, but yet still didn't get off the front. And 102k to go. That's a lot. Dr. Strange, go ahead and get some water. Everybody else behind us already has it. And yeah, see, this group's not even chasing, and with 4 riders here, I probably, unless say Bernal is in the group, because Bernal's the only threat, so I don't need to worry about bringing other riders back. Bernal's up there. We need to let's see, who do we want to bury? Captain America? Oh, Captain America needs to get to the front of this thing and try to pull this group back up, because I need those 3 to 4 riders. Doctor Strange still hasn't gotten water. Hasn't even picked it up. Just now raising their hand. Halfway down the mountain. And we weren't right at the top, but we were still very much there. The last of the riders are still just now going over the top of the mountain, just over the peak. In fact, they still haven't cleared. Somebody must have crashed at the top. No. See, they're just now coming down. Wow. Ooh, you would not want to be that rider. Alright, well, now I only have 3, so I'm going to leave it up to other teams to do the work. In fact, Dr. Strange needs to protect here and then lift the effort as we prepare for that final climb. But meanwhile, the chase group is 2 minutes behind. So far, this strategy has not panned out very well for us at all, but we'll see how it goes on that last climb. I've got 3 strong riders. We're going to have to ride more defensively, not offensively. We did the offensive on the first climb.
The riders are going to be more and more
We'll see how that goes.
A small group of riders are trying to
And
get clear of
Gill's
the
attacking.
Bog
Not
wheel
threat.
is off.
Bernal's really the only one that I care about anymore. And I don't see Ineos riders at all on the front, so there's got to be some around, like Thomas. But where's the rest of his support? There's a couple riders coming forward now. And one of those is Bernal. At least I believe it is. No, maybe not. Dennis, Evenepoel, and then Thomas. So he's got 3 support riders. And no red bar left for Captain America. We need to get you a little bit of help if we're going to pull this back, Storm.
Attack from a rider.
Get up there.
Breakaway at the
Push you
front.
at 94. You're not far off. And Gill's again attacking. They're in 20th. They are not a threat. And again, at this point, I'm happy to sit on because now the other group is almost in contact. Captain America's done, unfortunately, but I'll get 3 riders back up there. Oh, Thor, come on, you idiot. What the hell are you doing? You're like, oh, it's my teammate. I'm just going to sit here with them and look at that gap. Look at that massive gap that they just allowed. Storm now going to the front and I guess setting tempo, but we'll set a tempo that's more manageable. Black Widow's back. We have protection. Doctor Strange can relax. And Thor decided they wanted to waste most of their energy. So, yeah, fantastic work there. Love it. Love the effort, the dedication that you have to giving us problems. Alright, Storm's out of energy, so just do your thing. Captain America's gone. Spider-Man is gone. That's 5 minutes back. Nobody else even pushing. Well,
The gap is
Ineos,
widening.
Hanau,
It's now
Thomas,
more than 2 minutes.
Evenepoel.
The peloton seems content to let it grow. The breakaway is not to
Let
everybody's
them
liking.
bury
The
themselves
peloton has
because then that's
significantly
all of
increased
that
its
support
speed.
gone. You're down to, yeah, just Bernal. I don't see any other Ineos riders around, so this is good. This is good. Maybe this has
This is
worked
the last
out.
third of the race. The team leaders have their minds fixed on today's goal.
25k to go to the top. 52k to go overall. This is also time to get water one last time. So Thor, can you do it this time without getting yourself dropped? Oh, come on, Thor. Come on. Come on, Thor. Come on. Wow. Thor's having a really bad day. Alright. Tempo's ticked up. Okay, and then we need gel.
The pack's deficit is being cut back. The pack is increasing its work rate. Some teams can't be happy with the breakaway.
Alright, there's the man we got to mark. In that Columbia National Champions jersey, easier to pick out that way. There's 3 support climbers who have very little left in the tank. That's the final 5 riders of the break. And we've got just 50 in the peloton. Thor and Black Widow back to help out, but it's not lasting terribly long for us. 16k to go in the climb, so very different ride this time. But again, the field is already decimated here, so this could be a pretty decisive day. can our trio handle the single rider that is Bernal? Because the rest of his team, unlike us, is been burnt out already. So yes, we burnt some riders, but we burnt his riders too, and that's what we're counting on. Okay, we have these two out the back, and then Garretero out the back, down to 46. That's with the 5 and the brake or being caught. So this was 50 plus the 5 up the road, so it was 55. It's already down to 46. And we're down to just the 3. Doctor Strange, Gel, and Protect. Their 7th place in jeopardy, but that's okay. Gamora, I'd like to see hang on to a podium place. Be nice, but not necessary. Not really riding co-leaders. Okay, Ineos is not making the hard charge they were, which would give us an opportunity, but there's still 10k to go here, so it's a lot. If Bernal starts shoulder bobbing, the way Doctor Strange is, the way his teammates are, then I would do something, but you can see he looks just fine. Looks just fine, so we don't have to try to ride solo to the finish at this point. With some sort of aggressive move. Doctor Strange handling the pace just enough that he's hanging in there. And Gamora's doing relatively fine with 9k to go in the climb. Speed things up a little bit, as the pace is, well, quite slow. Actually, it's not that slow. 20 plus kilometers per hour at 8% gradient. That's crazy. Alright, our chase raiders aren't going anywhere, and this group's not getting any smaller, so 6k to go. This is now, I could do something or just respond to something. And right now I'm not thinking about doing something. We've already got the lead of the race, so why would we necessarily need to do... Bernal's not much of a time trialist either, so I don't need to cost my other 2 contenders their top 10 positions to make something happen here, especially with a big descent. We might be able to, especially with Gamora, I think we could make something happen here and split this group up. 4k to go now. Still thinking about it, but alright. Ineos is toast. They are toast. This is the time to make a move. So Doctor Strange, you're just gonna try to hang on, and Hulk, you're gonna follow Gamora. Gamora, Gel, and push. 85. 3k to go. Let's see what happens here. Who can keep up with us now? Hulk can, if you could get there. There you go. Immediately, one rider out the back. 2k to go. Push harder. Split this field up. 35. 37. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's 1k to the top. 31. Doctor Strange among those who just got dropped. 29. It's not enough, though. That's why. 25. It's a little too late. I mean, full attack, maybe, but then how do you hold that for the next 26k on the descent? I don't think you do. So we're going to set up and see if Doctor Strange can get back on.
Falling behind! A team leader is falling behind!
Because Bernal's here, so nothing to gain from pushing at this point. There you go. Doctor Strange is back. Now we can push this. And make sure that we don't get the whole rest of the field back. Okay, 20k to go. Just a simple descent. Right back at that 40 riders that we had. $13k. Down to 9. Down to 6. Gel for Hulk. Now we want to start
Your
pushing
riders are
tempo
entering the last 5 kilometers of the stage.
so that we can set up the sprint here. 4K to go. This is dangerous. Hopefully it doesn't fail us. Doctor Strange, normally a 75 descender, but poor condition today, 2.7. They're going to start their sprint. I said sprint. 1.7, 1.5. Gamora, Hulk. There's Bernal on the right. Don't let him take the stage. Don't let him take the stage. Oh, it's Stuyven. Almeida, Bernal. Ouch. 4.56. That's painful. 4 seconds gained for Bernal. Whatever. Not a big deal on that part. It's 4 seconds, but very disappointing that we go 4.56 like that straight across the line, and it was so tight, 1 through 6. When we were all half a bike length, give or take, maybe 1 bike length from 1 to 6, and yet we don't gain any seconds. But we're still in a strong position overall after the first 2 major climbing stages. We have 17, 18, 19, 20 left to sort things out, and I believe one of those is a sprint stage, and one's a time trial, and then 2 more climbing stages. So we're looking at a time trial and 2 climbing stages left in this race to make things happen. So we'll see. Look at that. Final rider still not even up the top of the climb. They still have quite a distance to cover. Of course, the rest of that's descending. But ouch. Ouch. Painful climbs. Long, long, long climbs. I mean, 40, 45K uphill and then up mountain for more than half of that distance. So ouchie day on the legs, but not much happening in the overall because it was just so far from the finish, and we tried something that worked at first but didn't ultimately work because it cost 4 of our riders their position in the front group. Then they couldn't recover, and we had to lose 1 of them, or 1.5 of them, just to get them back into that main group because nobody else wanted to chase. And so then we had less firepower for the last one. So that's why it's called an experiment, and that's why I tend to not lead from the front until you get into those later stages, because you burn through your riders and then you don't have the firepower to do something later. Well, anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.